Oh boy, where do I even begin when I talk about Bollywood? There's so much to discuss, so much to talk about, so much to tell you because I have been a Bollywood fan for almost all of my life, and Hollywood movies and movies of other cultures entered my life just a couple of years back, and I was completely aversive, or let's say completely hidden from their existence. Hey there, everybody, how's it going? This is John Matthew, and you're watching Cinemania 24/7, the channel dedicated to movies, music, physical media, books, video games, and pop culture. Hey there, guys. Today we're going to discuss about Bollywood, the Hindi film industry. What exactly is it? Some of the best films that I've seen my entire life. I'm going to discuss them with you as well. And this video begins the new Bollywood playlist on this channel where I'll be discussing exclusive Bollywood content, reviewing some old movies which probably may not be known to my Western audiences, but this is the best chance for you to explore these movies and find out what they are about. And maybe you can give me some recommendations of your own English or Hollywood movies as well. I'd love to watch them. So without even any further delays, guys, let's subscribe to my channel and also get onto a very high journey and discover something new today. Okay, Bollywood or the Hindi film industry finds its origin almost 8 decades back. Back in the time when India was still being ruled under the British people, Bollywood was experimenting and doing all kinds of stuff where we had silent movies, then black and white films, and the first time we had a movie where we had sound, which is called Alam Ara, by the way. Alam Ara was a massive success back in the day. Eventually, as the time passed by and the people's sensibilities changed, decade after decade came a new hero and a new sort of archetype of actor who tried to change Bollywood and make it very different. The first name that comes into my mind is the late Dilip Kumar sir, RIP the soul. He was a great guy. You can watch movies from him like Madhumati as well. You can watch movies like Karma as well. A little film called Mashal, which by the way happens to be one of the finest works of Yash Raj films, and of course Anil Kapoor and the late Dilip sir. Kapoor and a movie that is probably a movie that is probably underrated under the entire roster of movies that gets discussed under the Yash Raj banner. This is a movie that practically everybody seems to have forgotten, but it is miles better than what movies we have seen on social messages so far, at least for its time. A very bold subject, a very bold theme that I don't think anybody has taken up for so long, but yeah, that's the entire thing. Anyway, getting back, Bollywood has been experimenting on many genres. Although I'd be very honest with you guys, the sci-fi genre and the horror genre are practically dead for a very long time now. We have only seen a little movie called Koi Mil Gaya the last 2 decades. That has actually been a good sci-fi movie, but so far there's been nothing in the sci-fi genre or sci-fi sphere in the last 2 decades. In the horror genre, I agree that Tumbad happened to be a very big movie, but again, it was only so in retrospection, not in its initial release. Most of the people were backing out to even finance this movie, and this movie never found a good audience back then. That is 6 to 7 years from today. But when the movie re released last year, the hype was unreal, practically unreal. Anyway, putting all that into context, let's dive into some of my favorite films of Bollywood, and you can probably decide whether or not you should watch them based on my description and, of course, my perception. The first film on the list is definitely going to be Dil Chahta Hai, which, by the way, in English means The Heart Desires. A movie based on male friendship back in the time when Bollywood was just stuck to the traditional romance, comedy, action, and drama movies. This was a very fresh breath of air for everybody who was trying to see Bollywood in a new light. The idea that they managed to integrate hairstyles, millennial culture, disco music, and European style of filmmaking, road trips. Goa became a very famous place after this film, all thanks to Dil Chahta Hai's iconic title song. This movie is unique for all the obvious reasons because for the first time you see male characters being portrayed in a very different way, and the psyche is being narrated in a way that is very very iconic for that time and today as well. You also have the character of Siddharth, played by the fabulous actor Akshay Khanna, whom I'm a very big fan of, by the way. This guy plays Siddharth, an introverted guy who falls in love with an older woman, almost 10-15 years his senior, something that was never explored in Bollywood for a very very long time, and even today they shy away from doing something like this. Dil Chahta Hai had also got one of the best albums of that year. The songs were phenomenal, highly energy pumping, and some of them are very soothing and depressing as well. Although it tries to cater more to the conventional Bollywood music formula, one happy song, one travel song, one sad song, and one rebirth and rejuvenation song. It was exactly following the same pattern that most of the movies back in the early 2000s were, but nonetheless this film sticks out like a sore thumb for all the good reasons. Great direction, great cinematography, great music, great themes, and the ending, perhaps one of the most optimistic endings I've ever seen in Hindi cinema. Dil Chahta Hai deserves to be on your watch list if you are trying Bollywood for the first time. Be aware this is almost 3 hours long. It might test your patience at times because there are sequences that the western audience might not be very aware of, or let's say might not be very used to. But nonetheless, if you do watch Hindi movies, you're going to like this. And that concludes the part for Dil Chahta Hai. We now move into one of my favorite, or let's say my favorite movie of all time. So, drum rolls, my favorite movie is Saathiya, the 2002 film starring Vivek Oberoi and Rani Mukherjee in the lead roles. This is a movie, a cautionary tale rather, that explains why running away from your house and getting an court marriage will not really work in the long term, because they ended up telling you that okay, marriage is not exactly a bed of roses that it is ought to be. Initially lifted from a Tamil movie directed by Mani Ratnam, who turned out to be the producer of this movie as well. Sathya follows the journey of two young people, Aditya and Suhani, played by Vivek Oberoi and Rani Mukherjee respectively, as they meet in secret, fall in love, up against their parents' wishes, but then marital life starts hitting them hard. That's where the couple starts observing financial and, of course, psychological friction as well. And it all culminates to one particular ending, which is one of the most beautiful endings in Hindi cinema. A very bold attempt by Yash Raj Films, considering the fact that this was a time when they were trying to show us Hollywood landscapes, foreign landscapes, women dancing around in saris, fancy heroes with violins in their hands and teaching people how to love. Yes, I'm talking about you, Mohabbat. You're a good movie, but ab tum zyada अच्छे लगते नहीं मेरे को. Let's be real. Even though I like Shah Rukh Khan, but for some reason I can tell you that most of the Yash Raj movies back in the day were trying to fluff a lot, but Sathya managed to ground the narrative in a way we can never ever imagine. And all these years later, there has not been a single movie that has ever come to the realism, or let's say the truth behind what Sathya tried to portray. Sathya, on my scale, happens to be one of the best movies ever made. Perhaps the movie that got me into movies as a hobby. Perhaps the reason why I started this channel as well. I have a DVD, a cassette tape, a poster, and I'm also trying to get the bike that Vivek Oberoi was driving in the film. Driving in the film.
Alright,
So sorry.
let's go to the
If in
next
case I
movie,
do,
which
by the way, is the most interesting film Bollywood has ever made in all these years. That is Koi Mil Gaya. In English, I found someone. You might find a lot of similarities with this movie in terms of E.T. and Encounters of the Third Kind, that Steven Spielberg film. But it has a very unique premise, something that at least was very genuine and fresh in Bollywood as per 2000 standards. The movie follows the story of a mentally disabled man who lives in a small town in India called Kasauli, which happens to be in Himachal Pradesh. One fine night, an alien spaceship hovers over their town, and one of them accidentally gets left behind. And this mentally challenged guy discovers the alien, befriends him, and as a token of respect and gratitude, the alien gives him some powers. As a result, he ends up becoming a superhuman. He does all kinds of stuff, and one fine day, the police find out that there is an alien missing, and there's one guy who's been acting very strange lately. The last 30 to 35 minutes of the film are an absolute banger, if you ask me. One of the most suspenseful finales I've ever seen in Hindi films in the 2000s and even today as well. Koi Mil Gaya has an ensemble cast of Hrithik Roshan, Rekha, Preeti Zinta, along with Mukesh Rishi, Prem Chopra, and Rajat Bedi in some supporting characters. And you can also enjoy the child actors, who, by the way, today are obscure for most of the part, except for one name, that is Hansika Motwani, who managed to be a big name in the South Indian film industry, although the others have more or less disappeared in the limelight for so long. Koi Mil Gaya, for all the reasons, is a very unique movie. You will end up liking the sweet bonding between the characters, the music, the sci-fi themes, the simplicity of the 2000s, which is very well portrayed in the film. Although the sequel might divide you in ways, because the sequel takes a completely superhero route and manages to retcon everything that happened in the previous film. But if you watch it as its own entity, you're going to enjoy it a lot more. Keep Krish and keep Koi Mil Gaya aside, and everything works well. Koi Mil Gaya is also one of the first movies that I've seen in so many years, which happens to be a pioneer in its own genre. Not a lot of people have tried to attempt this a long time ago, and even today, people don't attempt many science fiction films or sci fi films because somehow the industry doesn't want to fund them. The sequels as I said, they're a little bit polarizing, but if you still enjoy them as their own individual entities, you will like those movies a lot. So Koi Mil Gaya happens to be on my top list of sci-fi films. I'd like to conclude this entire list with one more movie, which, by the way, is another childhood favorite. And with that, we shall wrap up the final movie of the entire series that I would like to mention is Dhoom. Dhoom, by the way, in English means blast, and it has partially some of the elements being taken from the 2004 film Torque and the 2001 movie, my favorite car movie, The Fast and the Furious 2001. The film follows the story of a hotshot cop who's trying to crack a case where four bike robbers appear in the middle of the day and steal a massive loot and disappear like thin air. The leader of the gang, that is played by John Abraham, who is Kabir in the movie, is a charismatic thief. You love the way he talks, you'd love the way he moves, you'd love the way he has his long hair flowing. It's a brilliant movie, and of course, a very, very drastic departure from what Yash Raj Films was trying to do back in the day. For most of the part, while Yash Raj was busy trying to make romantic movies, Dhoom was a very fresh direction and a very fresh path to begin with, especially a new director at its helm, and Aditya Chopra having the idea that we should have bikes and robberies and stuff like that. I loved this movie. The soundtrack for most of the part is sampled from Turkish music and, of course, music from across the world, but it looks very good and very, very enjoyable even after all these decades. Abhishek Bachchan for the first time gets a massive hit film that was not expected out of film after almost 4 years of languishing in the industry. But again, that's a different video for a different day. We can also add John Abraham, who is the entire USP of the film, and how can I ever not mention the Suzuki Hayabusa? My god, this is the bike that literally got me into bikes to begin with. And if I ever have the money, I'm definitely buying that bike 100% for sure. Dhoom is a cool movie because it has great action, great music, great suspense building. Although you can identify parts of the movie being similar to the first Fast and Furious movie, which is a massive influence on this particular film in terms of the narrative structure, the entire plot writing. You can imagine that Abhishek Bachchan is Paul Walker, John Abraham is basically Dominic Toretto and Johnny Tran combined, and Uday Chopra happens to be partially Dom Toretto in his own right. But then again, the story is a little flipped. Lots of scenes are similar to the original Fast and Furious film, yet it looks cool after all these years. So this, my buddies, was the entire history of what I feel with Bollywood movies and all the movies that I've liked over the years. In the next couple of videos, we'll be discussing about some of the best actors and actresses as well. I'll be naming 5 of them each, 5 actors and 5 actresses. You'll enjoy that video as well. Thank you so much for watching my video so far, those of you have. Please keep buying films on physical media. That's the best and the most amazing way to protect movies for long. You don't have to pay for subscriptions to movies that will disappear again and again. Buying a physical copy makes it much more easier for all of you. Till that time, guys, take care, stay safe, bye bye, and Godspeed.